Hey everyone! Do you even remember what pants look like? I don't. Let's go!
And now, from the studio inside the laundry room outside the house, it's the No Pants Variety Hour with your host, Rafa. Featuring your intrepid reporter for all things weather, sports, and opinion, Dolly Barkon.
Tonight's guests are Scott Tournet with a three-part chat about music, creativity, and groove as a way of thinking, and Jimi Devine of the LA Weekly to discuss the state of the cannabis industry and the CBD boom. Featuring music from Elektric Voodoo. And now, your pantsless host, Rafa!
I see you. Yeah. Oh, man. So welcome to the No Pants Variety Hour, episode 3. I hope everyone's staying safe and enjoying appropriate amounts of outdoor time. Remember, just because you're outdoors doesn't mean you need to have pants on, but it would probably be better, legally and socially speaking, if you did. It's just a reminder in case you needed it. So I want to encourage, again, anyone that wants to participate to reach out via either the Facebook on my page, RafaelNunes, or Rafa's One Man Band, or Instagram at Rafa's One Man Band, or Twitch TV / Rafa's One Man Band. That's twitch.tv / Rafa's One Man Band, or twitch.tv / No Pants Party Festival. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com / No Pants Media. Also, if you can contribute to the cause, you can find links to support the No Pants Variety Hour in the video description and in the comments section. So I'm excited this week to have a really good friend of mine, Scott Tournet, on the show from the incredible Elektric Voodoo from San Diego. They're an amazing band, a lot of Afrobeat, funk, soul, rock, all blended into one beautiful little concoction there. Also, super excited for our brand new cooking segment, Cooking with Tommy, our awesome Canadian friend. Stick around for that. And then also joining me this week is the awesome Jimi Devine, who's going to be talking about the cannabis industry during Corona times. First, though, we're going to go to Dolly with the weather.
Aw, thanks, Dad. Weather today is a warm, cloudy, Dad. It's not as hot as it could be because the sun isn't on my face. Oh, wait, there it is. Still, Dad, we call it the warm, cloudy because we only has the one graphic. Now back at you in the studio, Dad. I really appreciate all the cookums I get for doing this.
Which way is down, which way is up? When you don't know what to do, you just ask a pup. Which way is down, which way is up? When you don't know what to do, you just ask a pup. You don't know what to do, you just ask a pup.
All right, everybody, it's this week's edition of Ask a Pup. You know, you brought your questions, we got your answers. Dolly's geared up and ready to go. I am prepared to help out in any way that I can. So let's start with this person. These names are always so interesting. Made up name. I don't know. Made up name. I'm not trying to mess that up. I'm sorry. So made up name asks, why won't my dog stop pulling on the leash? You know, it's funny. This is the problem.
You needed
the
to
opposite
follow your dog better. Next question.
Dolly, I mean, you pull on the leash also, but mostly because you don't want to move.
Yeah, Dad. And I tell you, Dad, be good, Dad, and stop, but you ignore me, so I has to teach you, Dad.
9 out of 10 times, you keep going where we ask you to go anyway.
Yeah, Dad, but I do it on my own terms.
Oh, boy. Okay, well, next question. So question 2 is from Phil. Interesting name. From Phil in the blank. In the blank. Hope I'm getting that last name right. All these last names are really tough to pronounce sometimes. Phil in the blank asks, my dog has serious issues, like it bites people for no reason and barks at strangers. It pees in the house, and like sometimes right after I took it out to pee and it didn't pee. Like it'll walk back in the house and stares at me while it's peeing. What's up with that?
I don't know what to say, Dad.
I would say definitely contact like a dog trainer.
Dog trainers is good, Dad. They
like
good. Yeah, they know stuff.
A dog training specialist, behavioral specialist, therapist. Is that a dog thing? You should talk to like a professional. Is the point that I'm making.
Good,
this
Dad.
is
That's good. That's good idea.
This is a lighter show.
Yeah,
I'm sorry about
show
that.
for that, Dad. Yeah.
Okay. Question 3 is from Rex. Rex asks, I want more food. You know, every week we get one of these, and I'm not sure what
Dad,
that's about.
This is an extremely
this is not
Dad, this extremely important issue. Did you know I want more food, Dad?
Yeah, I know you want more food, Dolly. You always want more food.
No, so you know, Dad, that's messed up.
Dolly, I could literally feed you all day long, and you'd be telling me, Dad, I want more food.
Okay.
Okay, what?
Okay, I'll eat all day and to see if I'm still hungry. It's a good idea, Dad.
No, Dolly.
I like it. It's a good idea, Dad.
That's
good idea.
all the time we have this week to ask a pup questions. We're gonna head out. I'm gonna give Dolly some food and see if she wants more. She definitely wants more. And I hope you guys have a good week. Make sure you send in questions. You know, we'd love to take questions from you. And if your dog wants to send in a question, your cat wants to send in a question, we take all species questions. So feel free to hit us up. Which way is down? Which way is up? When you don't know what to do, you just ask a pup. Which way is down? Which way is up? When you don't know what to do, you just ask a pup. Everybody, we have Jimi Devine here. He is an awesome human being I've known for quite some time. He works with the LA Weekly and does a bunch of other amazing work in the marijuana industry in general. And I'm excited to have him here to talk about a few things, some very much related to what's going on right now, some very much related to the long-term discussion about marijuana in general. So first off, just in terms of what's happening right now, what are you hearing / seeing about the future of grow operations in general, and especially up north, in terms of workforce and people getting enough people to work for a season coming up right now?
Well, I think you're still. I haven't heard anything from like the first round of the harvest, like the light depths and stuff like that. That late spring, early summer crop. I haven't heard anyone stressing out about it too much.
Okay.
And I think there's enough time. It's enough time before September and October hit that we don't really know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's tough to guesstimate too much there. But the stuff that's coming down right now, I haven't heard about any manpower issues.
Okay.
I've heard about people having to make adjustments. I've heard about capacity not being at what it production output not being at what it had been for sure. But as in regards to actual manpower, I don't think it's more how much manpower can you fit into a licensed space.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like, yeah, like you said, there's enough time between now and October, which is really when like the
things could go either. Things could go either way. Who knows? You know what I mean?
absolutely. So you just had an article featured this week about the CBD boom, basically, which I think is it's really interesting because I think anybody who's been paying attention for as long as you have, I moved to California in 2009 and started seeing as far as early as back then, the conversation coming up a lot. But I think for a lot of people around the country, it is like this brand new thing where all of a sudden there's like 8,000 stores around them that are like, solve all of your life's problems with CBD. So, what did you discover in researching this boom recently?
Oh well, I think it was more of a recap than a research per se. Because there was so much to talk about on both sides. You obviously had all the positive stories about CBD and its amazing medical value, and all the people that live a better quality of life because they have access to it. Be it hemp, be it full from plants that were always grown to be medicine that you could go to jail for. Either or, there's a bunch of people. Even if with the hemp people, it's placebo effect. Like there's people like even if like that's a positive thing for that person. Like that even if it's bunk, like oh man, this hemp's making my knees better. Like good for them. Good in that bubble. That's a positive thing that's not hurting anybody else. And as long as it isn't some crazy nasty stuff like that's gonna hurt that person, what are you gonna do? This snake oil. There's always gonna be snake oil salesmen with everything cool. Or everything is everything with this much potential, because that's the reason it's easy to pass these things off, because we just don't know. We know a little bit. We see this quality of life and these little kids not having seizures after not being able to communicate with their parents most of their lives. Like, and then you're like, oh wow, what else does it do? And there's going to be people that play off that, and it is what it is. But there's plenty of, like I said, it's a very two-sided. I wanted to emphasize it's a two-sided coin. And it's cool to see like how serious the conversation is getting in America. I talked to the American Hemp Association.
Wow.
And like usually when they talk about CBD, it's all roses and butterflies. And I was like, yo, what do you guys think the negative part? Obviously the good. Like they, a lot of people basically when you ask, like, because the way I phrased it, I would just hit up all these people like, what do you think the best and worst parts of the CBD boom are? I was very specific. Like, I'm going to cover both sides. I want to get you a take on both sides. And most of the people were like, A, seeing these people live an awesome quality of life. B, the impact it had on wider policy conversations, like how CBD was like the teaspoon before people were able to start like chugging the legalization Kool-Aid. And that's totally cool. And it's, that's fine. But it's, there's just so much to it. I love it. And so I can't wait to, I'm excited, for us to keep learning more about it. It's hard to know a lot about pot scientifically in America. So much of this research we're looking at is European, based on European models, blah, 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 Israeli. So, once, over the next couple of years, depending on what happens with the DEA program that they've been supposed to expand for the last 13. So I don't get my hopes up too much, but the ball's rolling. But so we'll see. Like getting more CBD research, the better. But generally, we know a lot more than we did a decade ago. Like we see people moving away from those 18 to ones, 20 to ones, and there's still a market for those. But like when you talk about that real medical benefit on a case by case basis, you're seeing people using 3 to ones, 5 to ones, 1 to ones a lot more than you did a decade ago, and partially because the phenotypes that create those exact spectrums are a lot more stabilized now than they were back in the day.
Yeah, I think that for me as somebody who has been around the industry for, again, the better part of over 15 years now, and in Cali for over 10. It's been really interesting to see in the last 5 the number of people I knew that did not enjoy any marijuana related activity who nowadays are like, yeah, I eat CBD gummies 5 times a week, or I'm into this CBD product, or the CBD oil pen has really helped me, or and the number of people who went from being like, I just can't use anything marijuana related to like, no, I have a very specific marijuana product I enjoy a lot has been really kind of interesting to witness and powerful, you know? And I didn't know that I'd see that in my lifetime.
Yeah, it's been quick. It's for sure.
But what would you say for somebody from either NorCal or SoCal who's not really spent much time in the other place? What are the big differences between like the dispensary scene up north versus down south? Would you say?
I think the down south dispensaries that survived Prop D were based on such a solid model that worked for them in that space and in that time frame and in that survival mechanism that was LA Canada. If you were, you know, because you think about all the people in LA that weren't even attempting to do it legally. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so when you talk about the people that are actually jumping through the hoops, you know what I mean? Like they had a lot of faith in their system and whatnot and the way they did things from 96 to 2018 whatever, and there's still, you know, LA's not perfect. People are still, you know, there's still some licensing stuff going on, drama, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. But generally speaking, I think the Bay Area had more progressive models that would pop up, like the Harbor Sides and the Sparks, like those like first Apple Store dispensaries.
Right, right.
Those were in the Bay Area because it was just the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that would be the biggest difference now, because with the weed, like back in the day, the weed was more different than it is now,
Yeah,
because there was so much more. There was a lot more people on the legal, on what the gray market or whatever, you know, the medical marketplace that people had access to, and now you see like these distribution companies are statewide, so you have an idea, like if you have a better idea of that like the product around the state. Like for me, as like someone looking at it,
yeah.
tracking where things are. Like I know X product is with X distribution company. It's at boom, boom, boom. Like
Right.
that's convenient, because it used to be a lot more. The end of the best stuff on in the marketplace used to be a lot more compartmentalized,
Right.
and it would be really hard. It was really hard to go through each of those compartments, like for
Uh-huh.
really just find the flame. So when you talk about the legal market in that sense, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it would be cooler if there was more people making it a more competitive space.
Yep. No, I totally get that. I definitely feel like this weird thing happened as legalization really like started ramping up, which is that the middle quality kind of started dissipating a little bit. So I think nowadays you're much more likely to see like $70 eighths, even statewide in different.
That's a tax thing, you know. There was always
Sure.
$60 eighths. Like,
Absolutely, but I've even seen like $80 eighths. And to be honest,
but did
some,
it have the tax included?
yeah, but honestly,
That's the same. Like that's the same price as like a
and
16.
honestly, I feel like the quality always, not always, obviously, like you said, there's snake oil salesmen in every in every
Mm-hmm.
category of a market, right? But sometimes you see like a $75, $80 eight that you're like, you know, I wouldn't get that all the time, but that seems like it's worth $80.
Well, it's supply and demand. You can only stretch talent so far. It only
Right.
goes. You know what I mean?
And-
If X number of people are fighting for the same number of jars, those jars will
yeah,
go up in value.
that's about it, man. I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me.
No problem, bud. I was working on this article and I looked at the clock and I was like, oh my goodness.
You're
Thanks.
good.
So thanks to the email to remind me.
Yeah,
And
dude.
I'm gonna get back to it. And you keep crushing, dog.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate it, and talk to you soon.
You have an awesome one.
You too, man. Peace.
Sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports.
Oh man, Dad. Oh, did this was a good week for the sports, but there was a mellow one, Dad. Today and this week was all about slow, nice, gentle walks, Dad. Sometimes a good exercise come in the form of a gentle exercise, Dad. So you see us take a stroll round the corners. We play with the die. Now watch me chase it, Dad. It's a good chase, but it's not too intense. You see, sometimes it's important to take care of your bones, Dad. The bones is really important, and so is the muscles. And we take care of them by doing anaerobic exercise, Dad. The anaerobic exercise is super important for the heart rates and the muscles and things, Dad. That's what the doctors on the places that has the windows in the wall tell me. They say circulation good for people, Dad. So I assuming circulation good for gogs, Dad. I really appreciate all the time you spend with me outdoors, Dad. It's a really fun, and I hope we get to do it again really soon. Like maybe tomorrow?
Sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Yeah, sports. Welcome to another edition of Silver Linings, everybody, where we explore the silver linings of the crappity crap that we're going through day in and day out. You got some? Send them my way. Here's some of mine. I've discovered a new meaning for time, which is the same meaning of time that everyone always knew about. Well, not everyone, but anyway, time is meaningless, y'all. Or like relative, somebody said, or whatever you want to call it. But apparently, some scientist folk discovered some particle types that led them to speculate that there is a parallel universe where time moves backwards. Meaning time is a meaningless, arbitrary construct that we've devised. But, I didn't need a fancy NASA space observatory to find that out, though. I've literally lived days that lasted a lifetime and weeks that passed in a single instant, and that was just today. Also, I might be high. The other day I was sitting there. That's it. I just did that for like a long time. It was nice. Real nice. Sometimes having a dog during the shelter-in-place order is like agreeing to babysit the Tasmanian devil indefinitely. You kind of knew what you were signing up for, but there are known knowns and unknown unknowns. The biggest unknown unknown, that somehow this puppy will become even cuter as she got older, and that apparently she'll literally follow me around the house or backyard for hours if I let her. Dang it.
That's it for this week, y'all. This week's interviews. I'm here with my buddy Scott Tournet. Scott and I have known each other for quite some time. He has played music all over the planet at this point, and all over the states in many capacities. Right now, he plays with an amazing band called Elektric Voodoo that I've seen a handful of times, and they have kicked my ass musically every single time in the best way possible. Um, and so, welcome, Scott, and nice to have you here, man.
Old friend,
Yeah.
college chum.
Hell yeah. Yeah. So we were just starting to talk about music venues, and that's been one of the interesting conversations I've gotten into with people. I was talking to this past week one of my buddies who worked at the Independent and a bunch of those linked venues in the Bay Area. And I was asking him, like, A, have you heard from any venues, like, about anything? And he was like, well, the Independent hit us up to be like, they'll pay us some money at some point, and that's it. And everyone else has been crickets. and and then I asked him, when would you feel comfortable, like, going back into full I work party mode at a venue? And and he was like, I mean, I don't know, dude, because like he's like, I would work in outdoor, like, patio sort of party scenario first. But even that, as soon as alcohol gets introduced into the mix, like, you're
We're gonna be
yeah, like, it's a powder keg. Like, there's nothing you can do about it.
all gone. You getting your drink on?
Yeah, you know. And so, what? How are you feeling about that as very much a musician who performed out often and definitely depends on that?
Oh man, yeah. I'm listening to the experts. I don't know. We have a booking agent slash manager, and I was talking to him yesterday, and he has a family, and his whole business is booking artists. He's been doing it for 25 years, and so he's just kind of moving ahead, and he's saying that some venues are moving ahead and kind of rescheduling dates, really kind of to the fall. It seems like September, October, but like with an optimistic, hopefully that would be great if we could. Let's plan like we're going to,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll reassess as that time gets closer. I mean, we have it booked for August.
Mm.
It was this big festival. I mean, in May had our biggest, you know, most profitable tour we've ever been on scheduled. Like we had two big shows on the East Coast that were going to basically pay for everything,
Oh,
and then we had, could just fill in the rest of the shows and like actually like make like really do this with like a 7-piece band, and yeah, and then this thing hit. So luckily, one of the shows rescheduled. They just set it for next year. You
okay.
know, lose the show technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of better, but you're just kind of like not getting paid for a year.
Right.
And so it's like kind of lost it, but you didn't. And then the other one, this guy rescheduled it until August, and so it's on the books, but it's like because it's a big one too. So I mean, I think that's like there's supposed to be like 5,000 people there. So it's,
Yeah, that's a large number of people.
you know,
Yeah, that's rough. And so I feel like, yeah, there's this great area between like 50 and 300-ish where like you can expect to find a half filled room and it still feels good, and there's not so many people that you're like, this is a risk. I can feel it in the air.
no idea. I've been seeing some stuff about the drive-in theater shows
Yeah.
that people have been doing. I mean, you know, I guess we just kind of have to just keep getting creative. I just don't know. Yeah, I want to play. I'm a musician, you know,
I
but
know, right, dude?
like I also don't like want people to get sick. You know, it's like I've seen some people, you know, who've lost people, and that kind of sobers you up. Where it's like, you know, maybe I'll have to get my hot licks in on Zoom for now.
I know, right? No, exactly. I
My
mean,
hot licks or like lives. Well, I guess, you know.
that's been one of the really funny things about the whole like open things back up debate is like I'm definitely like, trust me, nobody wants sweaty human beings making reckless decisions right up against each other more than I do. Like that's literally what my livelihood is like formed on.
On it, I know it's like this, but this entitlement that we've been seeing lately of like this, like, open it back, we demand it. I'm like, you're talking to a virus. Like,
That's the joke I keep making is like it doesn't hear you. It doesn't have like feelings. Like you're not getting it in a debate. Like, ha ha.
oh, yeah, it's like it doesn't care whether you're from a rich country or from a third world country, bud. Like,
We do have the silver linings of you know, I get to have chats with a bunch of people that I don't get to connect with as often, and this is definitely one of those moments. And so I think some of the coolest moments I've seen live from you on stage were probably Burning Man this past year, and then just yeah, getting to watch you play the Independent was also really cool, just because that venue is really near and dear to me. I've seen some amazing shows at that spot, and yeah, it's just a great little venue. What's that?
the first place I ever played in San Francisco in 2004 or 2005.
Wow.
First time Grace Potter and the Nocturnals, you know, did a cross country tour. We opened for Perpetual Groove
E-Groove.
back in the day. Yeah.
Oh man, that's great. And and uh and so you guys drove across the whole country.
In an RV, well, in a bus that we had purchased with, like, you know, for $17,000, like an RV. It was one of those bounders, and that broke down before our first gig in Aspen, Colorado, at Buffalo Bill's grave. We were supposed to open for Tea Leaf Green at the place in Aspen. What's that called? It's the same place, Belly Up, and then some like dude, like Jesus looking dude, came in through the night and fixed our bus and vanished off into the night, you know, just like he was like a mystical figure. And somehow got the vehicle almost down into Denver, and then we lost, all the brakes went out, and then we like coasted into Denver into an RV, like fixed it center, slept there for 3 days. The bus was broken, our investment lost, and then we had to go to our parents to pay for an RV, a rented RV for the rest of the summer. Because we toured for like, it was like 4 months straight, and like lost like thousands of dollars. The stuff of legends, man. Like,
That's fantastic, man.
that's how it looks early days.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it definitely. Sometimes you just gotta put the pedal to the metal and see what the hell happens. You know, you know what I mean?
Throwing paint against the wall and seeing that's how it is, like going out with like not really being known across the country and just trying to like get people to remember your name. Is like sometimes you're like, is is it making any impact? Or like, does anyone hear this tree fall in the
Right.
forest? You know,
Right.
a decade later, when you thought that show in like, Wisconsin was in vain, this like family shows up, like, my son was, at that show, and and like, wow, like, like, or someone, it touched somebody.
Yeah, man, everything is weirdly connected. And it's that whole, I mean, I do think there's a lot to be said for the 10,000 hours thing. And sometimes it takes a lot more than 10,000 hours, I feel like. But, you just do a thing enough and you learn a bunch from it. and I definitely feel like you guys put in the time with that group. You guys were tried and tested. I think I saw you at 2 different All Goods, multiple different festivals, Bonnaroo. Yeah, you guys were all over the place.
I read Richie Havens' biography. He's an interesting guy once, and his philosophy was, if you do something with passion for long enough, it ultimately, like, something good will come out of it.
Yeah.
And interesting, because I've leaned on that concept in difficult times when it's like, am I getting anywhere, or just like, is this a lost cause? Like, what am I doing? And it's kind of like, well, I still have passion for it, and I've been doing it with passion, so therefore,
absolutely,
gotta trust in your own passion.
And I think sometimes you don't even know who you're talking to. There's a lot of art that like lives for 500 years before somebody's like, holy crap, that was like the birth of the Renaissance right there.
A lot of stuff, more in my like solo career, whatever, where I've just been like, I just completely was like, I thought it fell on complete deaf ears, and it was like soul crushing. You put this record and you're like, you've worked a year on it, and it's like, here it is, and it's just like someone else posts a picture of like their lasagna from like Wednesday night, and it's like hundreds of comments, and you got cricket.
Yeah, like, I definitely know.
7 years later, someone contacts me. This guy contacted me about doing like a live stream thing on his thing as a musician from Vermont area, and he was like, your solo record really like touched me, and like, like,
wow,
so much. And I'm like, what? Wow.
Dude, that's fucking great.
Yeah, it was a nice benefit like later on. It was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you really can't ever know, and I feel like that's something that that gets passed up when people talk about art a lot, is that it's a conversation that lasts a long time. Like, it's one of the few conversations you can have that lasts way beyond your lifetime. Literally. And there's a reason why some people like a couple thousand years ago wrote some stuff and we're still reading it, and it's because that stuff was fairly interesting. Like, and stuff just
part of humanity that kind of like still, like Shakespeare or something,
right.
it's resonates, I always find that interesting, because for a long time I was like only interested in art and creation essentially from like the 60s until now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking 40s, like, yeah. The music just doesn't speak to me as much. But then I like to read a book from like the 1800s that all of a sudden like you're in it, and it's like, oh, it's totally like this person then was having the same feelings I'm having now, and it kind of like humanized history in a cool way. I don't know.
It's really powerful to I guess for me what comes across a lot is that, especially with music, but with any art form, like language changes a bunch, text dies to a certain extent, but a musical idea is just this weird self-fulfilling thing that like can be passed on without it's almost viral in that sense, like a melody can get stuck in your head, you forget what it even is, then all of a sudden like 5 years later it pops back up, and then you go figure out like, oh, I think that's part of a solo from like a weird Beethoven tune I heard when I was like, and like these musical worms that like pop up. There's a power to that yeah, language just can't really get, and visual art paintings have that where you don't really need to know much. You just need to look at a thing and be like, damn, I feel that. And music does that.
It probably the most immediately, or it's like it most quickly brings upon the magic, in a way of like spirituality or some sense of the unknown, or just even a feeling, because it's not so literal as text or as the written word, I think, because it leaves room for personalization of imagination or interpretation.
Yeah, I think I know for me, in terms of like that passion, doing a thing with a passion, I know that maybe about 5 or 6 years ago I got to this point with music that felt kind of like a giving in to a thing that I'd been questioning for a long time, or wondering, like you said, like, is it falling on deaf ears, or like, what is even the point? And then I got to a point maybe 5 or 6 years ago where I was like, this isn't even actually a choice. This is just like who I am. This is part of how I exist. And fighting against it is useless. And so I'm going to lean into it.
It's a nice place. I had that early on. Like I had like almost a spiritual moment of like, and I don't really ever have anything like that. I'm very like grounded, Virgo kind of guy, questioning anything supernatural, or like quickly calling things bullshit. But I had this moment where I was coming home from a guitar lesson, and it was like just like this wash of like content and like direction and like purpose. And I was like, oh, I'm a musician. Just like boom, like no doubts. And that thing carried me for a long ass time while all my friends were waffling through their 20s of like, I don't know what I want to do. And I'm just like, I know exactly what I want to do. And then I found quite a bit of success, and that's easy to know what you want to do as like success comes your way. It's when success doesn't come your way that you start questioning again. So I kind of had to go through that kind of a thing later in life in a way.
Yeah.
Like, like 30s, all of a sudden it was like, oh, like shit, I have to kind of climb this mountain again. Do I really want to do this? Yeah. Do I their struggle and like no tour buses and guitar techs and guaranteed paychecks? It's like that'll test your will,
right?
And really, I think I was to this point where it was like, I have to make all my money completely from one totally original band, and if I don't do that, I'm a complete failure and I can't do music at all. It was kind of like, and I kind of like had to do this thing similar to what you're saying of like, no matter how this unfolds financially or professionally, I'm always going to be a musician, and it's always going to be a part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just ride the wave. And I think once you kind of accept that, it's like a little bit of pressure comes off. And it's if you succeed, great. If not, you'll adapt and you just keep doing it because you love it,
No.
Yeah, here we go.
y'all so much.
Oh, hi. How you doing? Welcome to Canada's #1 cooking show, Cooking with Tommy. That's Tommy with one M. I'm your host, Tommy. Today we're in the kitchen, and we'll be cooking wife soup. Now this is for all you advanced cookers out there. For you beginners, you might want to go back and start with show #1, where we cook the simple dish, duck flambe. Now, what you do is you get your best saucepan, you put her right there on the counter or on the stovetop, and you open your can of soup. Now when you got that baby open, you just pour her right into the saucepan, like so. Now this recipe calls for you to add an additional can of water. But here in Canada, we don't just use the can, we use Canada's #1 beer, Molson Golden. Now, we can't just pour beer in there, we gotta get the beer out of there. Let's try it. Okay, now that we got a nice clean bottle, we can fill her up with water. So, just pour the water right in the soup. Set your heat for medium. And give her a few stirs. Looks delicious. Now due to time constraints, we're not going to be able to finish this here soup. We have one already made for us. Let's try it out. Just beautiful, that wife soup. Just beautiful. Okay, that's all the time we have for you here on Canada's #1 cooking show, Cooking with Tommy. Have a great day.
Well, everybody, that's it. That's the whole show. Oh, man. No, thank you. Hey, stop it. Silly. You guys stop. God. Yeah, it's been good. It's been good. I hope you guys have had a good time. I hope you learned and thought some about your own creative processes and creativity as a whole. I really want to thank Scott Tournet for coming on. We're going to have 2 more episodes of my conversation with him because it was so freaking good. I had to do it not twice, but 3 times. And I really want to thank Jimi Devine for coming on. Amazing human being, a very intelligent man who I love chatting with about all things cannabis, and I appreciate all his knowledge on the subject. And I want to thank, of course, the fine Tommy, and had an amazing time working with him on Cooking with Tommy, and really glad to have Tommy on board and all the other contributors we're going to have on board. So again, if you guys want to participate, just hit me up, find me, let's talk, let's make some fun stuff happen. You got weird ideas? Me too, let's get weird together. All right, that's all my time, guys. You guys are freaking incredible, and I really appreciate all the support. If you can throw some money into the tip jar and help out the show be showier, that'd be great, and you guys are awesome. It really means the world to me. So see you guys soon. See you next week with some more No Pants goodness. Take your pants off and keep them off for a bit, everybody. See you next week.